It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David as he talks with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it's great to have you in studio today. We're sitting down with Coconino National Forest Deputy Fire Staff Officer James Pettit. Welcome back. It's your second visit to us.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me again.
James is going to give us an update on the Coconino National Forest, how things are going there, and just kind of a recap, because we're now at the, it's kind of an unusual year for us right now. We started out with really wet winter, wet spring. You guys have been in here since then, since this moment right here. And now here we're back, and now things have changed. Things have gone the other swing.
Yeah, so, obviously we all had, a really robust winter, from January through May, up on the plateau on the pine type. We were at 150% of average moisture, our 20-year average. And then down here low in our Red Rock district, according to our RAWS stations, that was actually at 200%. So a lot of precip all the way through May. And then we hit June and July here, and we haven't had any rain since. And so it's like any other ecosystem. You quit, adding precip to it, and it'll dry out. Mm-hmm. And so everything's kind of dried out over the last month and a half. Generally, we have monsoons that hit this 1st of July, and we're still waiting on those. And so every day that we go without those, it's going to dry up even further. And so that's kind of where we're at. All of our, our indices that we use to measure, give us a metric for large fire growth, all those are climbing. Yesterday, we finally went to very high across the forest, as our adjective fire danger rating. And so everything's climbing. Our planning levels, those have elevated as well. And so we're geared up for anything that any fires that happen to start. But it's drying out, and we'll see what the monsoons bring us here. But it's starting to look like they're moving in here. So maybe because I've been keeping track of it too, like you guys do. I mean, You're in contact with the National Weather Service over there in Belmont, probably as much as I am, if not even more so. And I've been talking with Tony Merriman, and Dave Byers was on this week, and I was telling you before the show that there's the jet stream that was bringing in all that great snow and rain throughout the entire winter and all the way through spring, with so much of it, is now still here. And that is what's causing the problem, because the high pressure that's supposed to be sitting over the four corners, where it's sitting right now, and it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and the monsoon starts to come up, I guess this pressure, the jet stream keeps pushing it down back into Mexico, so it all stays to the south of us. So we're kind of waiting for that to kind of back off. It's like, okay, you gave us a good winter, but you need to back off a little bit and let us get our monsoon going. But maybe the monsoon will fire up this week. We'll see. I know the White Mountains have been doing pretty good. But then they've got the dry lightning strikes too. But I've seen some pictures of pretty good rainfall over there, and I know the Tucson area has been getting hit pretty good, but not much on the Coconino or Prescott. I don't think the Tonto Forest has even gotten much rain either this year so far in the monsoon. Yeah, historically here in the Southwest, those monsoons come and they set up in the east. New Mexico will get hit with it first, and then it'll gradually move itself west, and the southern forest, the Coronado, Tonto will get it, and then we're kind of that last little piece in the Southwest that usually gets this. So it's not it's not unusual for us to go last here, and we've also kind of the last several years, these monsoon storms have been super robust. We'll get, 5, 6, 7 inches, in this July, August time frame. But historically, they've been a little bit more inconsistent. Average in July would be 2 inches over the past 20 years, whereas the last 4 or 5 years would be 5 inches. And so it might get back into that more historical pattern where it's a little more inconsistent. And so we'll have to see this first little wave. We'll see. Hopefully it'll bring us some precipitation. It'll probably bring us some lightning. But we've got resources in place, and we're ready to jump on those as we see them. So
I've noticed that too, that the fires that have started, they're not getting very far. The Woodbury fire was kind of that's the biggest fire in the state this year. 123,000 plus acres that was burned. So that's the big one of the year so far, and hopefully it'll only be that fire this year. It'd be great. The rest of them I've noticed, we're catching them before they even get 100 acres in size. A lot of it, I'll talk with Brady or George from Coconino National Forest on Mondays or Fridays and find out, okay, how much, banding campfires, things like that. And they'll talk about 1/10 of an acre here, 1/4 acre here, an acre there. So that's good to hear. And I do believe you guys do have, it seems like, instead of the resources being all kind of spread out all over the state, and I remember years in the past where there'd be this big fire burning and we would have another big one start up, and it was really difficult to kind of divide those resources up, and it doesn't seem to be the case this year. It seems like when a fire hits, everybody's on it right away.
Yeah, luckily here in Region 3, generally no one else is having a fire season when we're having a fire season. So all the other resources in the nation, usually we can pile them up in this region. Haven't had the activity, like you're talking about. We haven't just had that activity where we've had 4 or 5 different fires going. Usually we have multiple incident management teams out at one time, and we just haven't. It's you just haven't got the starts, and then you talked about. Those haven't propagated into big fires, and there's a lot of different factors involved with why that happens. But we speak of in terms of resistance to control, and we just haven't had that resistance to control. Most of that early spring precipitation, really gave us a boost in our live fuel moistures. So that really helps. And we haven't had fires during those big wind events, 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds that really drive those and make them really big and hard to corral. And so it's gone really well so far, knock on wood. We will continue to gauge our indices as we move forward, hoping in monsoons will eventually pull in here, but we'll gauge those indices and prep for whatever else happens. If we don't have any precip that really sets up, we'll get more resources in and we'll be prepared. So
well, if it doesn't come in soon, you just said a little while ago that we're very high fire, because I'll go on Prescott. On Fridays usually for the weekend news. I'll check Prescott, I'll check Coconino National Forest, Tonto National Forest. They're in stage 1 fire restrictions and have been for a few weeks now.
Sure.
BLM lands down the southwestern part of the state are also under fire restrictions, but that's really, I think, the only 2 places in the state so far that are. But I'll put that in there. I'll go in there and I'll go to your main page, and it's got Smokey Bear right there with the sign underneath that says high.
Yep.
And it's not high, I'm Smokey Bear, it's the high fire danger is what it's saying. So now it's very high, so I'll have to make sure I update that in the stories as well. But yeah, I check all of them, and it seems like that's the case across the board right now. I was talking to Bob Blasey with Kaibab National Forest last week, and he was saying that their indices had hit 75%, so it was like, okay, we're done prescribed burning. You guys have been able to do quite a bit of prescribed burning too, but we have to come back from a break, and then we can talk about how successful that's been this year with that wet spring we've had. Website for you is coconinonationalforest.us. Sitting down with Coconino National Forest Deputy Fire Staff Officer James Pettit. Stick around, Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Feng Shui artistry, the oldest form of development planning, today known as the art of placement. For 26 years, master Feng Shui educator, practitioner, artist, and author Caroline Patrick Bournet has used ancient rules of environmental, physical, and spiritual harmony to support clients' health, knowledge, creativity, and success. In mapping your home, you'll understand yourself. Better living is the gift of a lifetime. Change your life one room at a time. Schedule your Home Therapy 101 consultation today.
Show your customers how much they matter to you. Follow up with a real card in just 60 seconds with Send Out Cards. Send Out Cards makes it easy for busy professionals to leave a memorable impression. Stay in touch with a simple one-step process from your phone or computer to their mailbox. Call Judy today at 928-202-2557. That's 928-202-2557.
Been hearing about the crazy benefits of CBD? Find out how CBD can help you at Sedona's #1 resource, CBD Sedona. Come in for a free consultation and let our trained medical staff help you find the perfect product for you. Pain relieving salves, full spectrum oils, honeys, teas, cookies, and even CBD for pets. Ready to feel fantastic? Come on by CBD Sedona today.
Metaphysics. What does it mean? It's a branch of philosophy, literally beyond the science of matter. Sedona's University of Metaphysics studies the ultimate nature of existence, reality, and experience. Join 14,000 graduates in over 120 countries, helping others in counseling, coaching, ministry, and much more. The University of Metaphysics is here to serve the best in you so you can serve the best in others. universityofmetaphysics.com.
Countywide, James Pettit from the Coconino National Forest is in studio today. Before we jump into potential restrictions and how your prescribed burning season was going, you don't know too much about it at the moment, but the mulch fire north of Camp Verde, we talked a little bit about that before the show. Can you kind of fill us in on what you do know about it and what's going on?
Sure. So, we try to set aside these areas so people can bring their organic material, their grass clippings and their branches and limbs that they've cleaned up from their yards or what have you, and make a pile out of them and generally go burn those, during when it's raining or what have you, so there's no threat to building a large fire or what have you. But somehow this one got started, and so now it's smoldering deep in there. And so generally what we have to do with these large smoldering piles is it takes a lot of water and some heavy equipment to try to break those up. It's just like a campfire. You have to churn it up and pour water on it and churn it up and pour water on it. And so that's what we'll be doing the next couple of days, trying to figure out a game plan on how to corral that and reduce some of that smoke that's putting out.
Okay, all right. So it's basically it's a defensible space pile. When we've got those free slash drop off programs going on from the county, that's probably one of those locations where all that stuff was taken and dumped off, and somehow it got caught on fire, so they'll put that out. All right, so we did have a really good prescribed fire season. I think Kaibab may have had even a better one than the Coconino did, but a lot of acreage got taken care of. So how are we looking at defensible space on the forest around all of our communities that are sitting in the forest?
So we didn't quite have as good a fall season. So usually how our years work is we work from October to end of September. That's our fiscal year. And so we count our acres from October 1 to September 29th or 30th. And so we didn't have a great fall year. Weather has a huge portion in that. So you just don't have the windows to go out and burn it. But we were pretty active in the springtime. Overall across the forest, we were able to we're sitting at about 18,500 acres of prescribed fire. So during that time, we also had a couple of lightning strikes, one being the Maroon Fire out northeast of Flagstaff, and then we had the Coldwater down on the Mogollon Rim. And so those, we'll actively manage those for resource benefit. And the idea behind that is if, we can take those conditions and it helps move, those landscapes towards what we call a desired condition, we can also claim those acres as being treated, because it's fire is fire, when you're trying to treat landscape. It's no different than prescribed fire. And so we're sitting at about 40,000 acres of what we would consider treated acres so far this year. So it's actually been really good. We've taken those opportunities where we can, like I said, with those natural ignitions, and then mixed it in with some of that prescribed burning. We're really gearing up right now, doing a lot of prep work to try and do a lot of prescribed burning in the fall. So that's kind of the game plan. When folks aren't out fighting fire, they're out, prepping acres to burn in the fall. So that's the game plan.
We could see that through the monsoon season too. I know last year, the year before, we had the cowboy management fire along I-17. I mean, it's possible if lightning strikes and it hits an area that you guys think could use a little fire back in the ecosystem to clean up the forest floor, you're going to let those go. Those would be management fires.
Yeah, we don't like to say we let them go, but we'll actively manage them.
You get natural boundaries that are put in there. Sometimes you make the boundaries that are in there, but if lightning strikes in an area where you want to see the grasses, instead of being 4 or 5 feet tall, you want them back down on the ground, and it's going to benefit the place and protect homes that are nearby. We've seen it now where fires have, I want to say the slide fire is a good example, where it came up Oak Creek Canyon, got up on top of the hill, and it hit that, what's that first forest road right there? I'm trying to remember what it is.
I don't remember right off the top of my head.
I think people know if you're coming northbound and coming off the switchbacks and you get to the top of the switchbacks in Oak Creek Canyon, that first forest road there, that's where that fire kind of stopped. And we've had fire out there since then, but since that burned, and we've seen in other places too, where these treated areas, all the pine cones are gone, the pine needles are pretty much gone, the grasses aren't, the fires really slow down through there, and it gives you guys a chance to kind of get ahead of the fire and help stop it right there.
Absolutely.
It's not raging anymore.
We use those to our advantage. That's when we get a fire and it's really starting to go on us. That's the first thing we'll do. Break out the map and look at the treated acreage that we have out there. So you're looking for natural barriers or anything that we've created, as far as prescribed burning or old burn scars that can help us tie things together. And so anytime we can get treatment out on the landscape like that, it helps create more areas that give us those zones to tie together. And so and that's really the philosophy that we've kind of adopted over the last 10 years, is looking at every one of those managed or those natural ignitions, those lightning strikes, as an opportunity. And so each time one of those happens, we evaluate each one. We don't run out there and go put every one of them out. We will in certain conditions. When our conditions get to the extreme level, we'll go put those out because we're going to have a hard time. We'll have some resistance to control. But every one of those natural ignitions, we'll go out and evaluate them and see if we can't use those to our advantage. So
yeah, and I think it's actually been to the advantage over the last several years, because there's been quite a few of them used that way. You can just tell there's a difference when you drive around the forest and Flagstaff area. You can see back in the forest. I've talked about this before on the show with other folks that have come down here too. You can see back in there now, where there for a while you couldn't see more than 20, 30 yards back into the forest. But now you could really look back in there, and it looks much better. Fire restrictions, let's talk about that a little bit while we've got some time left. Are we seeing fire restrictions coming or not? Because you said it was gone very high now, fire danger.
Yep. So yeah, we're talking about it every week. So we have weekly calls within our zone in northern Arizona here with all of our partners and cooperators. So we have weekly calls, and we normally look at our conditions once a week, but right now we're looking at them at least twice a week to see where we're at. That's why we decided to go into very high yesterday. We saw the conditions finally hit the 90th percentile in both our pine type and down in the Red Rock district. And so we'll have another meeting on Monday. We have conference calls on Monday mornings with all the partners, and we get a feel for where they're at as well, because we're not the only folks that take care of natural resources in and around northern Arizona. And so we try to go in lockstep with what our partners are wanting to do, everybody get on the same page, put out the same message. And so essentially what we'll talk about Monday is whether we did get some precip on through the weekend. If we did, to lighten the load up, then we'll push it off another week. And so it's just that natural management of where we're at and where restrictions, and evaluating it every week and see where we go from there. So Monday we'll talk about it again.
It also depends on how well the humans are behaving in the forest too.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta take a break. We gotta take a break, but I know it depends on that too. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Coconino National Forest Deputy Fire Staff Officer James Pettit in studio today. Their website is coconinonationalforest.us. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Parents, you know as well as I do, there's nothing more important than your children. Don't you love to look in their eyes and see the love? Make sure they can see that love in your eyes by having their eyes examined. You can't tell how well your kids see, but Dr. Houston at Camp Verde Eye Care certainly can. Call 567-3330 to make an appointment. You'll be glad you did. Camp Verde Eye Care at 567-3330. They really do care.
Hi, this is Michelle, and I welcome you to Sedona Paint Centre. We are here to help you find the perfect color scheme and product for your home and business. Enjoy free in-store and in-home color consultations and free paint samples in a color of your choice. As a special offer to you, just mention this ad and save an extra 10% and enjoy 30% off store-wide.
Turning your real estate dreams and goals into reality, I'm Claudel Johnson with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. For more than 7 years, I've helped both real estate buyers and sellers put me and my team's extensive knowledge of the Sedona and Verde Valley area to work for you. Come see a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath, single-level home with a pool at 50 Sedona Street. You'll love the Sedona Red Rock views from this VOC area home. We turn your real estate goals into reality. Claudel Johnson at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services of Arizona.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left in the program. How weird would it be, James, if we did not have fire restrictions go into place in the Coconino National Forest this year?
Yeah, it seems like every year we go into some level. Usually it's the bare minimum, stage 1, but you know, it happens. It happens. You know, it's not an automatic thing that we go into restrictions. So I'm actually fairly confident that we won't have to this year. So we'll see how it plays out over the next several days. But
I feel like we won't either. It's amazingly green, but we should not be complacent about this. I mean, let's talk abandoned campfires. We've got a couple minutes left of the program. How are we doing? Because Coconino National Forest, it seems like over the years, I hear about more and more of those because I-17 runs right through the middle of the Coco and people just kind of disperse right into it and fill it up. So how are we doing with the
we've got I-40 and I-17 that really busted up. But it's, you know, unfortunately, we do have the highest occurrence of abandoned campfires across the region. We're sitting at about 300 abandoned campfires so far, which is, it's about in the middle of what we usually see. Some years we'll get a bit fewer. Some years we'll get a lot more. So we're kind of in the middle there. Luckily, we've been able to, you know, root them out and find all the ones that have been out there. That haven't really given us, you know, great problems as far as, you know, fires running off into the woods, but it continues to be an issue for us. It, you know, and we try to educate folks as much as we can about the abandoned campfires, you know, and taking water with you, taking a tool, making sure you're pouring water on it, you're stirring the ashes into the dirt, and you continue to churn it, more water, more stirring, you know, like you're mixing concrete. And every person that we can reach out into the woods, you know, our prevention folks, they do a fantastic job of reaching, you know, so many people, but we have so many recreators that, you know, you can't have a one-on-one individual conversation with. There's just too many people. So we'll continue to try to educate and see if we can't get a bit more compliance with you know, some of that abandoned campfire stuff.
Do we have enough people to patrol the forest? Because I know you got a group in Flagstaff that volunteers to go out and do some patrolling as well. Is there enough law enforcement people to actually go around and check the thousands of people who call the Coconino National Forest home on the weekends?
I think we do. I think it's a balance. You got to have a balance because you don't want, you know, we don't want, you know, 1,000 folks in uniforms out there. You know, people are trying to recreate and have a good time in the woods, and we get that, you know. And for us, it's more about being a presence and like I said, having a conversation with the folks that we do run into, you know. But we really have to strike that balance between how many of us are really getting in your business, or, you know, hey, is there more of a workload here than we can handle? And so we try to strike that balance. We look at those kind of staffing levels every year, and I think especially this year, I think we're getting it right. It's just more education is what we need to do. So
it's nice to see that green truck roll by, huh? It's almost like a police car driving through your neighborhood every now and again. It's like, oh yeah, okay, they're out here. They're keeping an eye on things. So it's nice to see that person in that green Forest Service truck going down the road, just kind of checking things and making sure everybody's doing what they should be doing, having a good time without going nuts.
Well, they all used to be green now. Most of them are white with the shield on it. But if you see the shield rolling down there, yeah, stop and chat with us. We're more than happy to.
Tricky guys.
Chat.
We're out of time, James.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it very much. Coconino National Forest.us. That's today's show. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Parents, you know as well as I do, there's nothing more important than your children. Don't you love to look in their eyes and see the love? Make sure they can see that love in your eyes by having their eyes examined. You can't tell how well your kids see, but Dr. Houston at Camp Verde Eye Care certainly can. Call 567-3330 to make an appointment. You'll be glad you did. Camp Verde Eye Care at 567-3330. They really do care.